Well, it is Friday. I'm sorry, it's Wednesday, May 21st. We're almost done. We're waiting for our guest. We're having some technical issues, but here he comes.
It's like the surprise reveal.
I know. It's the hardest working Republican in the state of Maryland, Robin Ficker.
Living legend of Maryland, Robin Ficker.
It's buffering, and here's Robin. Welcome to Direct Line, Robin Ficker, the hardest working Republican in the state of Maryland. Take it away, guys.
Thanks, Dwight. Robin, thank you so much for joining us. As we were talking about before the show, I don't think there's a single Republican and probably not even Democrat in this state.
I think we're getting a storm here. I think that's the problem.
Yes, that'll do it. Well, so for people who might not know you, as few of them as there are, can you give us a little bit of background about who you are and how you came to be in Maryland Republican politics? Do we lose him again?
Yeah, it looks like that.
Stall, Mark, stall.
I was going to say, we were talking. It's funny, before we went on the air, we had a great conversation with Robin, and his first referendum, which I guess we'll ask him about, was what, 74? I mean, it was 50 years ago.
Yeah,
I remember it well.
So he has been at it. We're gonna. Not even Dwight remembers it, and Dwight remembers things before he was born. It's incredible. But we also want to talk with Robin about. We want to talk about his latest initiative, and we also want to talk about some of his more recent successes. He's obviously had a number that we need to talk about, and we will also talk to Robin about his term in the legislature. And here he comes. There's Robin.
Hey, Robin.
So, Robin,
Yes, I'm here. I think we're.
Storms.
The weather is coming for us.
Yes.
Either that or Mark Elridge has control over the broadband lines.
He's shutting us down.
I think it's Westmore.
Westmore?
Because Robin's working on eliminating the state sales tax, and Westmore's got to have his sales tax revenues. Mark Elric needs those revenues for all sorts of fun stuff. Yeah, so while we wait,
How's your week, Jackie?
Oh, so far so good. No, I'm ready for Memorial Day weekend. I need the extra day.
I just got off of vacation, so.
You were in Florida, right?
Now I'm back.
Now he's back. Does it get harder and harder to come back every time you go to Florida?
Oh, let me tell you, I feel like, it's like, how when you visit your grandmother, she's really happy. She's crying because she didn't see. I feel that when I leave Florida.
I don't know. I spent a week at my brother and sister-in-law's house a couple weeks ago. It was like it was my parents, one of my grandmas.
Are they in Florida or?
No, in Pennsylvania. And my brother and sister-in-law and my niece and nephew. And by the end of the week, I'm like, get me out of here. It's too much family time.
Oh, let me tell you. And I tell you, I'm getting notes from Ian because he's traveling right now. He's in Boca at his friend's grandmother's house.
My parents are flying home from Boca. Actually, my mom's on the plane right now.
And actually, he's going to Orlando tomorrow. He tells me to visit his cousin Avi again.
Very nice.
And I'm like, I don't need to know your blow by. I'm not your mom. I'm not going to Venmo you money just because you say hello. I go, I've known you for 19 birthdays, and I think you're a little too old to be getting gifts.
Well, if we're going to at least pretend to talk politics for a little bit, I'll say something interesting that's been going on. Today was Columbia University's commencement, And there's the videos of the pro-Palestinian protesters just harassing people on the street during commencement, just ruining it for everybody.
They did that at GW too. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, it's horrible. Well, and then GW had another one of the commencement speakers who just kept talking about pro-Palestine. A bunch of schools.
Hey, Robin, if this doesn't work out, we can put you on next week when hopefully we won't have storms. If you have issues again, we could do that. That way you can stay safe in the storm.
Why don't we just start off? Why don't we just kind of start off? Robin, could you describe the current referendum that you're working on and what you're trying to get done?
I'm sure he will.
Not sure that's going to work.
I think we need to pick a night. Is it storming by you? I mean,
it's raining out, but it's not like cray.
Yeah, but he's further north than you are, actually.
Yeah.
So
he's in the ag reserve.
County spending increases to the rate of inflation. We had something very unusual this year. We had a 9% of fewer students county budget. There is no interest at all on the council in controlling spending. They cut nothing. What they're doing, they're looking forward to the Democratic primary. And the way you win that Democratic primary is that you shovel money to people who are people. Budget with a 7.4% increase and the schools with a 9% increase in just 1 year.
And you just put your finger on a key point, which is that enrollment is actually gone down. So you're talking about a really substantial increase in the amount spent per pupil. So your referendum, how many signatures do you need to collect in order to get on the ballot?
And 10,000 valid signatures. Not only that, the school board budget this year has a 45% overhead, which is the largest in my memory since the late 1950s. 45% overhead. What's 60% of the budget? The money is not going to the Aristotles who are in the
I can't tell if we're good or we're not.
I don't. I'm not feeling.
Well, I got the TLDR is we're spending way too much money on overhead. That's what I got.
Yeah.
But we need 10,000 valid signatures.
Can you see me now?
Yes.
So,
Yep.
Robin, so you said we need 10,000 signatures to get this thing on the ballot. How many
I see
typically,
Mark.
what percentage of the ones that you get are not valid? It's going to be an outtakes episode, y'all.
Live. This is what this is what happens when we do live broadcasting.
Hopefully not, but.
Hey, Robin, I see you're moving. Can you say something? Guess not.
Well, I think this is a great time to plug the new Young Republicans Old Line Club.
There you
Hey,
go.
didn't we just disband the Old Line Club at one of the conventions recently?
I don't know, but this is not our Old Line Club, but it's our high dollar donor club. And you can get some really cool perks like some YR swag, like this really awesome blanket. It's very comfortable. It's got our logo on it. Great for those cold, rainy nights like tonight. Yeah. Get in touch with me if you want to join.
He's back.
And
Thank you for this commercial break.
any chance of our finding an Italian restaurant in Baltimore County?
Yeah, Missoni's. It's a great place to go.
Are they open in
Hey,
the rain?
Robin.
Robin, I don't know if we should like rush into it. How many
I see.
referendums? Yeah, how many referendums have you gotten on the ballot in Montgomery County, and when did you get your first one on the ballot?
I've gotten 25 on the ballot. They've received a total of 2,537,403 votes. My first one was in 1974, and we got term limits through. As a matter of fact, we now have a county executive in Montgomery County who is the only person in U.S. history who has been term limited twice. He was term limited in 2016 when he was on the council, so he couldn't run for council. He ran for county executive. And then in 2022, he was term limited there, so he can't run back there. So now he's going back to council. Plus, we got a limit on property taxes passed in 2008, which limited the increase in property taxes to the rate of inflation. And that limited tax increases for 8 years until they unanimously overrode that limit with a 9.75 increase in 2016, which the Washington Post called an exercise in fiscal restraint when they increased the budget 9.75%. But then, because they raised it so much, we had term limits on the ballot, and 5 of those council members those tax increase specialists could not run for re-election.
So with this one that you're trying to pass now in Montgomery County, I have a good feeling that if and when it gets on the ballot, it will pass. So where do you see the council being forced to cut back on spending when they don't have a choice? Where do you think they're going to start to make cuts?
Well, the school overhead is 45%. Most of the increase in the budget was increasing the overhead. And that's where they need to cut. We've never had a 45% overhead in the school system before. It's not going into the teachers. We need good teachers, but we don't need all the overhead. And they have no inclination to cut spending. The new superintendent requested like a 10% increase in the budget. Come on now. That's not meeting the needs when we're approaching what could be hard economic times, and in a situation where thousands of Montgomery County residents have been let go. They're no longer working for the federal government. These folks are entirely focused on getting votes in the Democratic primary, and everyone else who isn't voting in the Democratic primary is being used as an ATM.
Yeah, and it's really interesting. I was reading about how they were looking at places to cut back on spending to meet the education budget proposal, and they were like, "Okay, we're going to take the money out of the retirement funds for the teachers." And then shockingly, genuinely I'm shocked, the teachers union in Montgomery County approved that. They were like, "Yeah, we're cool with that. We endorse this plan." And I thought this was going to be the beginning of the civil war between the Montgomery County Teachers Union and the county council. Somehow I was wrong. What do you think, Mark?
There's no war between the two. They're working hand in glove. They're working hand in glove. The council is not cutting anything. The council's going along with every increase and then some. They're like 300 million above the state maintenance effort level. Now there's no interest in cutting, and I don't see any interest springing up on that council anyway. They're paid $146,000 a year. The delegates to the legislature are paid $50,000 a year. The delegates gave us that 3% technology sales tax for $50,000. So I think when we're paying the council $146,000 to increase our local income tax 3%, we're overpaying. They shouldn't be making any more money than the delegates who gave us the 3% technology tax. Why are we paying these people so much to increase our taxes?
I couldn't agree more. And the county councils in other counties don't make nearly that amount of money. So I feel like we should be lowering them to at least where Frederick County is at. I think they make like $35,000 a year or something like that.
Can we expect that as a potential referendum in the future, Robin?
Well, it certainly makes sense because I don't see why they should be making more than the delegate. I mean, what are they doing in their spare time? I mean, they take long breaks in the summer. They take long breaks over Christmas. I think they're more loophole takers advantage of than they are lawmakers.
That's definitely true.
Well, it's interesting. They're almost, I mean, at 145. I think members of Congress are at like around 174, 175,000.
Yeah.
So they're getting right up to what what a U.S. senator is getting, what Van Hollen is getting. And yet, of course, they're frankly just doing press releases and turning money over to the school system in Montgomery County.
If they're getting what Van Hollen is getting, does that mean we can bring
That's
Marco
all they're
Rubio here to
doing.
berate them?
That's all they're.
So
Well, Van Hollen, what I have against Van Hollen is that Van Hollen was the deciding vote in the U.S. Senate when they needed a unanimous vote to allow the Commanders, the NFL playoff team from Maryland, when they needed a unanimous vote to allow the Commanders to build a stadium on national parkland in D.C., they needed a unanimous Senate vote. And Moore huddled with Van Hollen, and Van Hollen voted for that. That's why the Commanders are moving. Without that vote to allow them to build on parkland in D.C., the Commanders could not move out of Maryland. They couldn't move to D.C. They'd be here stuck in Maryland, and we would have an NFL playoff team with the rookie of the year, who's probably the rookie of the decade.
I wonder what they promised him to get his vote.
I think some planes, but
season tickets.
Yeah, right. So, Robin, that was one of the issues that you've talked a great deal about. You've also talked about the need to do more economic development in the state, to bring some of the large investments like the microchip factories to Maryland. I wonder if you could kind of expand on what you think Maryland should be doing for economic development.
Every time you ask a question, it
was going so well. It was going so well.
I know it's not.
While he loads again. So we know that today Westmore signed the super horrible budget into law for the next fiscal year. So, you know, tighten up your wallets, everybody.
Hey, did he use any of his line item veto powers to do the fiscally responsible thing?
Not that I am aware of. I think he's just taking the victory lap on vetoing the reparations commission, even though that's probably going to get overturned by the legislature anyway.
Oh yeah, definitely will. And on that same note, we also had yesterday, you can read about it in detail on Montgomery County Republican Club mcgopclub.com, the article about basically whoa, what happened?
Sorry, that was me.
About Secretary of State Marco Rubio schooling Senator Chris Van Hollen. I think he does need schooling. Great article by the wonderful Caroline Spencer. And this just in a few hours. Oh, Robin's back.
I wish they had done that beratement here. We could have sold tickets.
Oops. And Robin's back.
There he is. The man. You know what we don't? Oh, there he is.
I'm back.
What we don't know is Robin is out sneaking.
Moore was a friend of Biden's. Okay, so Biden had the 2022 CHIPS Act. The CHIPS Act has spent $38 billion in the United States in 23 states for about 70 projects. Not one of those projects is in Maryland. Moore never exercised his friendship with Biden, who he said should be reelected. He wasn't able to get one penny from the CHIPS Act, a huge program that Montgomery Countyans and people in the state are certainly qualified for these $98 an hour jobs making semiconductors.
Sounds like a great idea. We should have done that.
So, Robin, do you think that there's a chance that Wes Moore doesn't get reelected next year? Because it really does sound like his policies have been not so good. And I think a lot of people on both sides of the aisle in this state have noticed that. You think he could get primaried?
Well, yeah, look what Trump has been doing, okay? He's got Saudi Arabia to commit to $600 billion. Apple, $500 billion. NVIDIA, $500 billion. Japan, $1 trillion of investment in the United States. Moore went to Japan on a little side trip, came back with nothing, and yet Japan is giving Trump, has told Trump they're going to be spending $1 trillion in the U.S. I talked to Andy Harris about this list of monies that Trump was bringing back home, and he said Maryland won't get one penny of that because Maryland is not friendly to the administration. I mean, look what Van Hollen said to Rubio just yesterday. He said, "I'm sorry I voted for you." I don't think the Maryland senators, if they voted for Rubio, I don't think they voted for any other administration cabinet nominees. So how can they expect to get their back scratched if they're not scratching the back?
Well, and not only are they not friendly to the administration, Maryland's not friendly to businesses. So it's hard to convince businesses to invest their money and do business here when they're going to be charged, absurd tech taxes and things like that. What do you think, Mark?
I think that we should talk about that 3% tech tax because that's going to drive a lot of the really innovative businesses that are key to the future of Maryland out of the state. And
right.
I mean,
Wes Moore keeps talking about how he wants us to be the hub in the country for quantum computing, and they're all just going to Tennessee.
No, but did you see Delegate Crosby moved out of the state? Hey, Robin.
Yeah, he's basically like, this is a horrible thing for businesses. I'm moving my business out of the state, but I'm going to vote for it
he voted
anyway.
for this. What's funny is, but he voted for all that.
Yep, it's really sad.
Well, as for NVIDIA, NVIDIA is going to be investing $500 billion in the United States. None of that in Maryland. Facebook or Meta is just now putting up its 28th data center, spending $800 million in Ohio. Not one of the 28 data centers is in Maryland. We're being shunned by the Magnificent Seven, all the technology companies, and now this new technology sales tax will be a giant stop sign.
Yep. It's going to take a long time to undo the damage that the Wes Moore administration has done to the state.
I mean, let's say you're thinking of locating in Montgomery County, and you're a businessman. Okay, 2 years ago they passed a 5% increase in the property tax. Many of the council members want a 3% increase in the local income tax. And we also just got a 3% increase in the state technology tax. Would you want to locate in Montgomery County where they've increased property income and technology taxes? I don't think so. I think you'd run from such a place. And that's what these technology companies are doing now. They're running elsewhere.
I can't blame them.
Right. And we, of course, had the streaming tax last year. As one of the things that the Maryland legislature seems to do is try and think up ways in which they can come up with new and innovative taxes that nobody else has had before and implement them first.
Well,
and of course,
the reason is because Maryland's gross domestic product from 2016 to 2023 grew a total during all those years of 1.6%, only 1.6%, whereas Virginia's grew 7 times as fast. Plus, we have gridlock. The council has zero interest in improving the 2 main roads in the county, which are I-270 and the Beltway.
Both part of my daily commute to the office, and both make me miserable. By the time I get to the office, I'm done.
Well, I remember when Bob Levy of the Washington Post, in his column, he wrote that I was driving up 270 reading a legal brief, and then I wrote in and said, Bob, it wasn't a brief, it was just a memo.
Mark, what do you think? Should we call this one an early night since we're having so many technical difficulties?
I think we really got enough that we should probably call it and give Robin another chance down the road. Maybe we can do this
when the weather's nicer.
When the weather's nice.
You know, the up county here is more difficult. I think maybe I should be down county like in Rockville when I do it.
Yeah.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah. And don't forget to go to Missoni's, everyone. You know, Missoni's our favorite kind of restaurant.
They have great Wi-Fi.
Yes, they do.
We should run the show.
Yeah, we should do the show from Missoni's one day.
I love it. All right. Well, thank you.
Good night, everyone. And sign Robin's petition.
Yes.
Right, Robin?
Okay, all right. I like your looks. I like your style. We'll see you again in a little while.
Right.
Good night, everyone.